All right, so let's tie this jig right here. It's a simple little 1/8 ounce jig. Ain't much to it. Just a black round ball head with some orange chenille, pink, and it's not really chartreuse. It's more like a greenish color feather with some. You see that orange flash inside there. We're going to tie this up, and we're also going to talk about something else, something that you might want to pay attention to, you might want to hear. I hope I can get more of y'all over to that side of what I'm starting up. I'm kind of excited about it. It's something I've been wanting to do for a while. So stay tuned. Watch this. All right, so here we are. We've got a 1/8 ounce round ball jig head in the vise. It's painted solid black. It's got a number 4 sickle hook on it. And what we're going to do is we're going to do a lot of contrasting colors on this. We're going to go with black head, orange body, chartreuse tail feathers, some orange flash sticking out of it. Something just totally different, something off the wall. And like I said, if you haven't yet, something new that I've just started doing was I started a podcast on Spotify. You can find me on Eric Massey Jig Company on Spotify. Something new, something I've been working on, something I've been thinking about doing for quite a while. So don't forget, go look, Eric Massey Jig Company on Spotify. Episode 1 is posted now, and I'm going to start doing a little bit more, and I'm probably going to do more on the lakes that I fish and how I fish them, and I'm probably going to get feedback from other listeners, subscribers, telling me what they like about the lake or what they want to hear about the lake, or, what about the local boat ramps? Are they in good shape? Are they steep? Are they shallow? Are they deep? Is, things that you need to watch out for, especially Palm de Terre, Truman, Stockton, maybe even Lake of the Ozarks. We might start hitting Lake of the Ozarks a little more now. Deer season's done. It's behind me. I've had a big change going from, early in the spring, had a back surgery to get rid of a cyst. Went from working second shift to working first shift, trying to get used to those hours, trying to figure out where all this is going to come in at. And right now, I think a podcast is where I'm wanting to go with this. So we'll see. So we got our vise tied up. We got it in a Peak rotary vise. That is, I get a lot of questions. I get questions every day on the vise that I use. Hands down, for me, the Peak rotary vise has been absolutely the best. It is sturdy. It is strong. Nothing at all has worn out on it yet. And this one right here, my main one, I've been using probably for going on 5 years. Not an issue with it. This one back here I use just for YouTube videos and TikTok clips, things like that, where I put a jig in it, use the background. So that is what that one's for. I got another one over there that the kids use when they're down here trying to help me get caught up. I don't sell like I used to. I don't know if I ever will again. My plan probably actually is to build boxes of jigs and then sell that whole box. You can request a box of 16th ounce jigs, or maybe a box of 1/8 ounce jigs, or half 16th and half 1/8. But what's in those boxes, or what's going to be in those boxes, I'm not going to do a lot more custom orders like I used to. It's going to be, here it is, this is what I got. I don't tie jigs that I don't think will work. I use jigs that I know I've heard, all the way down to Mississippi, Louisiana, jigs that they use. I'll probably even do jigs that are specific for, like, say, Grenada Lake. Jigs that are specific for Leech Lake in Minnesota. It'll be very specific kind of boxes. So, if you're interested in something like that, send me a message, let me know, tell me what you think. It's hard trying to keep up with orders and work a full-time job at the same time. So that's kind of where I'm at with that. So we are going to start out. We are using Danville's 210 Flymaster waxed. And I believe it says plus on there. Plus, yeah, it does, plus. Wax Flymaster Plus. I've never heard of that. I've never paid any attention that's actually on there. Not sure why. 210 most people know is my absolute favorite thread to tie with. It's strong, it's sturdy, it's not going to break. Sometimes when I go down to tying 16th ounce jigs and 64th ounce jigs, I'll go down to like a 140 denier. I don't go any lower than that. Even though I have them, I've got, I don't know, just tons and tons of spools of thread. Some I'll probably never use, some I might. I've done some other ones, some bigger jigs with lighter thread just to test them, and it all just kind of depends on how you wrap them. You know, you don't put a ton of pressure on your bobbin when you're using real thin thread. I used to get a lot of questions about people asking me, man, my thread's breaking, what am I doing wrong? Don't tie so tight. Don't, you know, use light pressure. Use light pressure, but use firm pressure, and that'll help keep your thread from breaking. And what we're doing right now is we're pulling off, I said chartreuse. I thought I had chartreuse hackle feathers up here, but I don't. All I got is, I got some hot pink and I got some odd green, but we're gonna go ahead and we're gonna put in 2 hot pink hackle feathers in this. This is also being transferred over to my Spotify also. So if you're watching the video, this will be on my Spotify podcast. So if you miss something, you can go back and you can listen to it on your way to work or listen to it on your drive to the lake. We're laying that hackle feather right on the back side of the shank of that hook, and we're going to do some light wraps all the way to the point of the hook. Get up here to the point, and we're going to start tying it back pretty tight. 210 denier, you can wrap it on there tight. You can wrap it on there like you are tying down a wild hog or something. I mean, you can strap it pretty tight. You can put a lot of pressure on 210 before 210 is going to give out. If 210 gives out, you're putting way too much pressure on it. You ought to be, unless you're using steelhead hooks, you should be bending the shank of that hook a little bit. Let's go ahead and put one of these funky little green feathers in them. I got these green hackle feathers a long time ago, and I don't like them because the tips of them are rounded out. And what I mean by rounded out, they're not sharp. They got a big fat end on them, and I don't really care for material like that. So I squeeze it together some, pull it up between my fingers, and get it to where it's going to lay a little bit more of a point. We're going to cut it off. We're going to put it right on the bottom side of that jig, trying to keep it where it stays right in the middle. And it did. Lo and behold, it did. Made a nice one right there. But on the Spotify podcast, I'll even be talking about lakes that I used to fish, lakes I fished when I grew up where I grew up at in Kentucky, the Ohio River. I still say to this day that's one of my most favorite bodies of water I ever fished was the Ohio River right downtown right in downtown Louisville, Kentucky, or Jeffersonville, Indiana. We used to fish the McAlp's locks and dams, you name it. Catfish, channel cats, white cats, stripers, white bass, crappie, largemouth, smallmouth. Caught it all on the Ohio River. That was one good thing about the Ohio River. You never really knew exactly for sure what you were going to catch. Never knew what was going to be on the end of that line. 100% for sure. Especially right there at the hydro, the bear traps, right behind it was a big electric plant down there, hydroelectric plant. Grew up fishing that. If you fish down there or you live down there, you know what I'm talking about. The slanted wall right there on the edge of the side of the bear traps back here. When I was fishing there, they hadn't built that new boat ramp. They had built that new boat ramp about the time I left Kentucky. About the time I moved out of Kentucky, they were building that boat ramp right there in New Albany. Well, not New Albany, Jeffersonville down there, right across from the hydro. Never used it, but it never looked to me like that was going to be the perfect good spot to build a boat ramp. Seemed like you got a lot of current right there. If you've used that boat ramp, let me know. Send me a message. I've always been kind of curious how that boat ramp worked out, or if it's even still there. It might not even be there anymore. I would have to guess with years and years of current hitting it. floods and all that, that it would probably have washed away. But I don't know, maybe there were some really, really good engineers there that took care of that problem and it did wash away. Kind of hard to say, but I don't know. I haven't been down there in a long time. But like I said, it was absolutely one of my favorite spots to fish. Loved that spot. Nothing like getting up at 5:30, 6 o'clock in the morning with Dad, and we used to stop there on 22nd Street at Druthers and get breakfast. Go down there and sit down there at the, well, we was either on the Louisville side down there by Landon's Park, or we were drive across the bridge into New Albany and go in back that way and go down there and fish where the, I guess all closed off now. I don't think it's like it used to be. I think, you know, finding all those Indian remains and burial ground and all that back here. But, you know, it was back in the day where you could take home fossils, the fossils you found back then. You could take home, and I had a box of coral and all kinds of fossilized stuff me and my little brother would pick up back here while we were fishing. You know how that is. I'm pretty sure we did more exploring than, you know, when we were kids, me and my brother probably did more exploring than we did fishing. I don't know, my little boy, he's like that too. Zach's like that. He likes to explore a lot more. Sometimes get off the bank and get out of the boat and walk the bank sometimes, just looking for whatever you can find. I like how this jig turned out a little bit better. This one's got 2 more better pointed feathers in it. And I am using Pearl Chanel. It says Pearl Chanel Medium Orange. And I bought this at Bass Pro. This is the White River brand. So yes, you know right now for a fact it wasn't cheap, but it was probably all I could find. I think I had an order of these coming up for Team Livingston and couldn't find that Chanel, and remembered that I had bought that Chanel from Bass Pro. It kind of seems like here the last few months, Bass Pro got a little bit better at stocking their stuff up. Still nowhere near as good as Plateau Fly Shop in Springfield, Missouri, which is right down the road from Bass Pro. But they did have more of a supply than what they used to. There for a long time, like right after COVID, they just pretty much let it die down. There wasn't even a Fly River. Well, I don't even, yeah, I think there was a desk and all that back there in a place you could check out, but it's not the Fly River Fly Shop like it used to be, or the White River Fly Shop. One time they had a really good selection, then it died down, and I don't know if it had to do with COVID, trying to get material to them or not. If you work at Bass Pro or you have any insight to that, let me know. But the guys down at Plateau Fly Shop knew the materials, knew what material was good for what, and that's what always got me going to the fly shop. Their expertise on, you know, knowing, you know, the different types of Chanels, the sizes, medium, large, small, size 1, size 2, stuff like that, because you'll encounter a lot of that while you're tying jigs is size. Some places will size it small, medium, large. Some places will do it as size 1, size 2, size 3, stuff like that. Just anything to make it a little more confusing. Always kind of curious if they did it like that, knowing you would get home realizing, oh, that ain't the right stuff, and instead of taking it back, you just go buy a new pack of it or something. Just seems like they'd kept something like that kind of even across the board. Why wouldn't medium always stay medium no matter what company you're at? I'm sure there's some kind of marketing reason behind that, but I don't know. All I know is I have bought some that looked like it was big enough to winch your boat out of the water with. I don't know what I ever used for it. I always thought, well, I end up using that for some kind of bass jigs, but just never looked right in any kind of jig. It was thick, it was heavy, it was hard to cut. I'm sure there's a reason for it somewhere, and somebody's probably out of it right now listening to this going, man, I'd take that off your hands if you lived closer. But it's real thick. A lot of times when I'm, the majority of the time when I'm tying jigs, I'm either using a small Chanel or a medium Chanel. If it's numbered, I'm usually using a number 2 or a number 3. I got a specific size I usually tie with on hooks. I usually tie, well, majority of the time I tie number fours on like 16ths and eighths. I'm never really good at remembering the size of the hook versus size of the jig head. So I always kind of let Jason Brummel make that call for me, unless somebody calls and says, hey, I want 1/8 ounce jig heads with number 4, number 6 hooks, then that's what I would order. If I was just ordering something to have in the stock, I'd just tell Jason, hey, just, whatever makes that profile look right, because he's pretty familiar with how I tie and what I tie with. So I always gave him kind of the go ahead of, hey, I need 1/8 ounce jigs with a little bit bigger hook than what I normally get, and he usually matches them up pretty good. But like I said, I mean, don't call him expecting him to know that for you, but he knows the style I tie and how I tie and what I want mine to look like, so he usually gets me pretty close. That's a good thing about finding people that are local doing stuff like that is, you get to know them, they get to know you, and they, kind of read each other's mind on what you're wanting and what you're after. I always try to buy local anytime I can. I can't stress that enough. Even with your plastic jigs, there's probably somebody real close right down the road from you that's making them. That way with jig heads, I'm pretty lucky Jason don't live that far away from me, so I get all my powder paints from him, all my jig heads come from him. But yeah, look for somebody local. And if you don't know even how to do it, get on your Facebook page and just ask, hey, I live here in this town. Is there anybody close by that's making jig heads? Can I see a sample of them? Or, can I come by and look? Most of those guys that are doing that in their garage got no problem doing it. I mean, you both already got the same hobby. You got something common to talk about. Good time to go sit down and talk to somebody local and, exchange fishing spots, things like that. Always try to go for your local guy. And everybody knows I started making plastic baits, I think it was last spring, and that just didn't work for me. It was not what I wanted to do. I thought it was. I went all in too. Bought it all. I probably had 20 molds, 5-gallon buckets of plastisol, single injectors, dual injectors. It was not for me. Was not for me. The money quite wasn't in it for me. It didn't feel like I was. Didn't really feel like I was. It was worth me using my free time to make them. I know there's a lot of people out there that make plastic jigs. A lot of people out there that make good money doing plastic jigs. And I probably could have if I would have pursued it a little bit more, but the time, I just trying to find the time to do that. I didn't have it. And if you do plastic baits, when you set up to do them, you're committed for a while. Getting your plastisol mixed up, getting it stirred up, getting it heated up, getting it colored right, and you wasn't going to do it just to shoot, 20 baits. That's not worth it. You're going to set up to, run a couple hundred at least. At the least, you're better off to do 1,000 of each one, store them and put them away. That was another issue I had. I did not have storage space for it. And me and Jason talked about it when I first started into it, and he was like, yeah, you're going to probably have a hard time with storage and enough room to be able to do that. It took up a lot, but it wasn't what I wanted to do, so sold it all. Sold it all. It's amazing how people you were selling, some of the people I sold the plastic baits to were so quick to criticize the toughness and durability of them, but at the same time, we're not so quick and easy to criticize what you were buying at big box stores, stuff you were getting at Walmart. The stuff now you can get off Temu. I mean, you get it from Temu now for next to nothing. Even hand tied jigs, hand tied jigs have gotten to me now where they're not. It's not worth my time to do it anymore. The market is so flooded with people doing it. I mean, you get on a TikTok, get on TikTok or something like that. Watch how many people are tying jigs now. I can't get upset about it because I mean, here I am right now on YouTube, now on, well, YouTube, TikTok, Instagram, Facebook, all those social media platforms that I got on and taught people how to do this. You know, I mean, if you're making money doing it, do it. Price them right, I guess, is probably my big thing about it. You know, make the price right. You're making a hand tied. It's one of a kind. I could sit here and probably make, 100 of them this color. Not all 100 are going to be exactly the same tail colors. It's possible they could be, but each feather, each color is going to be maybe in a little bit different spot. Maybe a wrap or two extra around the neck, something like that. It's a handmade bait. But you've also got to learn how to price it right to know that, there's a lot of people that are looking at it in a sense of, well, we're just going to hang it up in a tree and lose it. Yeah, no, forward-facing sonar now kind of helps with not losing baits. But I guess, what I'm getting at is the market is pretty saturated for that. A lot of people doing it, a lot of people selling stuff. Every state, I'm pretty sure you get on Facebook and look for whatever color jig you were wanting to buy. Size, style, eyes, without eyes, with eyes. You can find them all the way down, to 35, 45 cents a piece. What I've been seeing people on Facebook selling for up to 75 cents a piece. And it kind of goes on and on, back and forth. In some areas, there's a really good market for it. In some areas, there is no market for it. I always sold more, living here in Missouri, I sold more jigs in Louisiana and Texas than I ever did here in the state of Missouri, which just seemed kind of weird because there's so many of these big lakes around here that are known just for crappie fishing. But a lot of people around here would rather use a plastic bait versus a hand-tied bait. Texas seemed like it was just the opposite. People in Texas wanted the hand-tied baits and less of the plastic baits. Louisiana was kind of the same way too. Sold a ton of jigs in the state of Louisiana. Sold quite a few in Oklahoma. Missouri just wasn't, just for whatever reason, just most people wanted plastic jigs. I use all hand-tied jigs everywhere we go. If I'm not using a hand-tied jig, I'm probably using a minnow. There's not many times that I'll switch over and use a plastic bait. We got some when we were fishing the Crappie Master tournaments. I made sure I had everything I needed just in case, for whatever reason, they weren't biting on a plastic jig or a hand-tied jig, and they wasn't hitting on a minnow. I could then at least go to the plastic jig and say, hey, it worked or it didn't work. But it always seemed like we was always using minnows. We was always using hand-tied jigs. That's how we went through the whole season of fishing the Crappie Masters tournament, was hand-tied crappie jigs and live minnows. But everybody's got their own thing. Some people, use all artificial only when they're crappie fishing. Some people use only live bait when they're crappie fishing. Some tournaments require you only use artificial. Some tournaments will let you use both. I think it's going to lead on to tournaments and all that. But, I think in a tournament you should be using only artificial baits. I think it should be your intuition, you picking out a color, a size, something that you think and you want to show that this bait catches fish. That's what I think it should be when you're fishing a tournament. I don't think you should have the option to be able to use live bait. Bassmasters has never been like that where you could use live bait. correct me. I could be wrong. If I'm wrong, I'm pretty sure somebody will. But like I said, I'm going to end this right here at like pretty close. It'll be 25 minutes when I get done. This will be up on Spotify. If you haven't yet, check out my Spotify page. Put your earbuds in while you're driving down the road, while you're fishing, and you think of a question, or you want to hear a whole podcast based on something, let me know. And I'll be picking out some of the people that have followed me over the years on Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, and be doing podcasts with them guys also. Some of the people I've taught how to tie crappie jigs, I'm going to get a hold of those guys and see what their theory is on, are they making good money doing it? Is it worth the venture? Is it worth now getting into and tying to put on the market and sell? I do know this about the crappie fishing industry with selling anything, is that it is a dog-eat-dog world. It's a brutal bunch of people. It's some of the best people I ever met, but very business-oriented, very goal-oriented. Marketing strategies. We'll be talking to some of the people I've shown how to tie, and some of the people that are using what I did with the UV resins, and seeing how their success has gone with that, or failures have gone with that. So be prepared. If you've been on my YouTube channel watching and commenting the whole time I've been doing that, I might hit you up about that, and we might do some talking. I might want to hit somebody up that's selling in Mississippi, somebody that's tying in Oklahoma, and we'll get on here and just do that. We will be hopefully doing a weekly podcast. Where's that fly landed? Right there on that camera lens. Cold enough outside, it's 30 degrees. You'd think the flies would be over with, but no, there they are. Anyway, that's all I got. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. Hopefully you're listening to my Spotify, Eric Massey Jig Company on Spotify. Thanks for watching, guys. Appreciate it. If you haven't yet, don't forget, like, share, subscribe. Let people know. Let your friends know. Now a new Spotify podcast.